Hi there and welcome to Studio SN. My name is Sara Naumann and today we're embossing with Izink. Izink from Aladine is an acrylic-based pigment ink. It's opaque and the colors are rich and really vibrant. Now you can use them in a lot of different ways, but today I want to show you how to use them with embossing powder. Really easy technique to do, but I'm going to show you a little bit closer look on my card front here. I'm going to move aside my Izink and then just kind of tilt this a little bit. I think you can see the embossing that's here on the background as well as the focal element here too. Again, super easy to do, so let's take a look. First, I'm going to bring in 2 pieces of glossy white cardstock. Now this is really important that the cardstock is glossy rather than a matte card because we really want these inks to be running on the cardstock and not just simply being absorbed into the cardstock. So the 2 colors that I'm working with are Lotus and Mimosa, and then I'm also going to be using some embossing powder from WOW, and this is the Silver Pearl Regular, so I'm going to have this on hand too. Now all I need to do is take a little bit of each one of the colors and pop them onto one piece of cardstock. So you can see I've got a nice little dropper applicator on here, and all I need to do is just apply a couple of drops randomly onto one piece of the cardstock. So that was the Lotus. And now here's the Mimosa. So I'm just putting the 2 of these together randomly on one piece of the cardstock. And then I'm going to take the second piece of cardstock and then just simply place it on top of the first. And then lift. Now you can see on here I've got some patterns and some textures in that ink already. I can leave it as it is, or I can go back and tap the 2 together a little bit if I want to. But I do want to work pretty quickly because I'm going to be sprinkling my embossing powder right onto the wet ink. So even though I've only needed one piece of the cardstock, I'm going to do 2 because of course I've got 2 of them together. And right away, sprinkling on my embossing powder, and then all I need to do is just tap that off, and this is going to stick into that wet ink. Now this one I think is still a little bit wet, so while I've got it out, I may as well do this one too. So I'll tap off any excess, and then you can see on here that I've still got some of that ink on there. So although this ink is pretty fast drying, it's not going to dry super fast, especially onto that glossy cardstock. You can still do some embossing. All I need to do now is just grab my embossing tool and heat set this. Now my embossing powder is all set and I have 2 really cool backgrounds. And as I'm tilting this, I think you can see the shine on here. It's going to be a really fun background. So this is my background taken care of, but I also have another element here on the front of my card, which is this cute little cactus. So I'll show you that approach as well. So this is also going to be really easy to do. So I've got my cactus plant heat embossed, and this is using the Earth Tone Blueberry embossing powder from WOW. And the stamp set I'm using is also from Aladine. Now this is their Duo Clear and Stencil combination, the Cactus. So you can see I've got a lot of different cactus designs, and then I've also got a clear stencil to use as well. So I've heat embossed this with the blueberry, and then I can color this in. Now what I'm going to do is take some of the Lotus and also a little bit of the bamboo, and I'm just going to put a dropper straight onto my craft sheet. So that's the bamboo and then the Lotus as well. So again, I don't need very much color at all. And because this is heat embossed, then I've also got some kind of a resist area on here. So when I come in with a brush and I pick up a little bit of that bamboo and just go to color this in, that embossing powder is going to resist the ink, so I don't get any smearing or blurring on here. So I'm just going to paint this in, and I've also painted in some of the stripes on the pot. You can see I'm using a fine tip brush. This is a water brush, but you could use any kind of fine tip brush on here. And I've done every other one of these little triangles on here. And then what I'll do is just kind of clean off the tip of my brush using a baby wipe, and then come back with that Lotus. And then again, same thing, just coming in here to do quick coloring and add a little bit more detail to this pot. Now you can also mix the Izink with some water if you wanted a lighter color, but I wanted something really bold and colorful to go with this card. So I'll add in a little bit of color for those triangles. And then I've got my colored embossed focal element for my card. So now I'm going to bring back in my original card, and we can take another look at this here too. Let me quickly just clean up some of that Izink from my craft sheet with using a baby wipe. Really easy to clean up. And then we can talk about how I put this card together. So you can see here I've got my embossed background, I've got my embossed focal. This is up on some foam tape to accommodate the thickness of my pink twine. Now the background that I have here, this is just a little bit of that Lotus Izink that's been spattered onto a piece of white cardstock. So it's a really easy approach to do as well. So this is all I need to do to create a really fun embossing effect using my Izink. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Thank you so much for joining me on Studio SN. I invite you to subscribe to Studio SN as well, and I will keep you updated with new videos. For more ideas and inspiration, please visit my website at saranaumann.com. Again, thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you again next time.